Hi, today we are making broccoli cheese soup. And one of the great things about it, not only is it super tasty, but it's a great way to use up broccoli stems if you have them, and if you're not a big fan of just eating broccoli stems when you eat broccoli. And also cheese scraps. A wide variety of little tiny bits of cheese can go into this, and it actually makes it better if you have a variety, although you can make it with one kind of cheese. So let's get started by looking at our ingredients here, okay? So we're going to start with some butter and olive oil, and we are going to saute some chopped onion in that.
It's about a cup of onions.
It is, but I've got all the measurements down below, so don't worry about it. We've got some garlic here, some flour to thicken it up. This is 100 grams of cheese, various different kinds. We've got a cheddar here and a little bit of a blue, and this is a double Gloucester with chive and onion, and there's a jalapeño jack, all sorts of things in there. A wee little bit of nutmeg, some white pepper, but you can use black pepper if you don't have white. Here's the broccoli that's mostly chopped into about the same size, relatively small chunks, and I'm gonna show you how to peel the stem. Some milk, we're using 1%. You can use any kind of milk you have, including non-dairy, if that's your jam. Obviously, this is not gonna be a vegan meal if you have cheese in it, although maybe you can make it with vegan cheese, like really, I don't know, you give it a try.
Never done it.
But it might be great, right? But definitely if you don't have dairy milk in the house, but you do eat dairy, if you happen to have soy milk or almond milk or whatever, you can sub here. And then we're using some homemade chicken stock that's pretty jiggly with some fat in it. But you can actually use veg stock here as well. So this can be vegetarian, absolutely. So let's get started. I've got this heating up a little. I'm gonna put the butter, 1 to 2 tablespoons of butter. That was 1.7 tablespoons, I think. Not a big deal. And about a tablespoon of olive oil in there. And we're just gonna melt that and add some onions.
Sweat them off.
Yes. So what we're going for here, we are not browning the onions. We are sweating them, as Rob would say. So I will make sure that I keep an eye on the temperature so that they're not getting any color. In fact, we're doing the opposite. We want them to turn translucent and soften.
A hint of golden.
Yeah,
that's all
but
right.
we're not really going for any kind of caramelization here, okay? Now, the next thing I wanted to show you, if you have all stalks or if you have a mixture of stalks and florets, the stalks need to be peeled, because if you have a look here, you can see that there's this tough outer coating on the stalk, and the inside is the softer bit. The way I do it, could you use a peeler? I don't know, maybe. I find that it's pretty easy to get your knife under that bit there, and it kind of chunks off. Sometimes I can get, and it's very satisfying if you can get like a whole strip.
Makes my day.
But it's a slightly different texture. You'll be able to tell when you've done it. Basically, you're just getting off the super woody bit. Like I said, maybe you could use a peeler, but I've always used a knife for this, so. And then, once we've got it peeled the way we like, that looks pretty good to me. I think we've got all of the really tough stuff off there.
Woody bits.
I'm just gonna chop it into chunks. And like I said, this recipe is great if you have a whole bunch of broccoli stems languishing in the fridge because you don't like them when you make steamed or stir-fried broccoli or something like that. So this is a great way, because we're going to be blending this soup so that you won't even notice that you have stalks in there, and they have all the flavor and all the goodness of the rest of broccoli.
You can do the same thing with asparagus stems as well.
Asparagus stems work really well for that. Chard stems are good, but they can change color if you're using the red chard. You're going to end up with a different color than white chard, but that's a whole separate issue. Anyway, what we're going to do, because you don't need to see this, is we're going to cut, and then we're going to come back for the next step. So the onions have a beautiful, very light golden sort of translucent-y thing going on here. You can see there's a little bit of browning happening with the fat in the pan, but not a lot. So we're going to put the broccoli in.
A little salt, a little pepper.
All of it. And we're going to put the garlic in at this point. Give that a stir. And then even though we're going to be adding white pepper later, I'm going to add some salt. We can always add more later. As you know, Rob and I disagree on how much salt to put in things. And I'm going to do a few grindings of the black pepper while we're here, because why not? And then just coat, you know, the broccoli there in the kind of slightly oily onions that have softened and gotten all yummy and stuff. So that's going to take another couple of minutes, because the thing is, you want to, you're getting all artsy on me.
Oh, I am, yeah. This is, your wonderful face is framed in this beautiful flowers, because it's a springtime recipe.
It is.
There.
This is our springtime.
And
although we make it all winter long.
The art's over.
Whatever. Good. So we're going to come back, because it takes a little while for the broccoli to soften to move on to the next step. Now, you know, could you throw this all in together? You could, but it actually does make a difference if you take the time to do each step the right way. So take a few minutes, let your veggies do their thing, because there will come a point where we can then just dump a bunch of stuff in.
This is what wine is for.
This is what wine, yeah, exactly. Anyway, so we'll be back. We'll be back when it's ready for the next step. So it's just been maybe 3 minutes or so, and the broccoli has gone, it's gone to that really brilliant green phase, and it's just about to tip over into being not so green anymore, because that's what it does. And I've been stirring it to make sure that we don't have too much browning, because we're not really going for the browning here. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add some white pepper, just, you know, move it around there. And the flour. And like I said before, all ingredients are down below. And what we're going to do here is just sprinkle the flour around on everything and give it a stir. You do want to brown the flour a bit. You're trying to get rid of the floury taste. And you don't want to dump it all in one location, because you could end up with lumps, and nobody wants that. Basically what we're doing is a take on a bechamel, which is a basic white sauce here. And then the white sauce becomes a cheese sauce. So we're basically making broccoli and cheese sauce, but with extra liquid. That's kind of what broccoli cheese soup is. So you can see the flour is toasting on the bottom. You see that brown on the bottom?
Could it be milk time?
Yes, that's exactly what it is. So we're taking the milk and adding that. And then I'm making sure that I'm getting the flour bits that are down on the bottom there. With my, you can use either a wooden spoon or like a silicone or rubber spatula, whatever you have that works for that.
Starting to get thick, eh?
Yeah, so that's the combination of the flour and the milk.
And the fat.
And the fat, yes. So the roux is what thickens, and roux is fat and flour together, and then it thickens the liquid, in this case, milk.
It's not pronounced Roux.
It is spelled R-O-U-X. They didn't need to know that. Pronounced roux, yes. And it is. It's starting to thicken up a bit here. And it will continue to do so as the temperature goes up. Can you see that? That when I draw a line through, you get a little bit of holding before it fills in. But as the temperature goes up, the flour and the milk will activate, and shazam! There we go. Make it thicker. All right, so we have almost everything in here now. We've got stock, cheese, and a bit of nutmeg. Let's just see how this is. My hair is just doing weird things today. So you can see,
yep.
Right? That means it's thickened. So I'm going to add the stock. You can see it's a pretty thick and luscious stock that we made there. You can refer to the video on bone broth.
Self-reference, 10 points.
Okay. And I'm using how much we had in there, which was about 3 cups. The recipe calls for 3 to 4 cups, sort of depending on what you have. And because we have, because it's such a rich stock, and I only had 3 cups, I could add a cup of water if we want more soup, and it would still be fine because the stock is so concentrated. So I'm just stirring that all around. And I think I'm going to turn up the temperature a bit.
So how long do you let it simmer for?
Well, I want to see the broccoli a little more cooked and see what happens with the flour and the thickening here. And then basically add the cheese till it melts, add the nutmeg, taste for doneness, and you're good to go.
Coming back in a bit?
Yes, we'll be back shortly. So it's been about 10 minutes and the veggies are quite a bit softer now, and we had the lid on. I don't think I showed you that. We cooked it simmered basically with the lid on to get the broccoli to soften. And now I'm just going to add all that fabulous cheese. And now I just cut it in small chunks. You can also grate it, whatever works for you. And this is a great way. He didn't really say that. I'm ignoring, right? Just ignoring.
You're very ladylike about it.
Yeah. So anyway, and I'm also going to throw in the nutmeg. Now we grate our nutmeg fresh. You might have yours pre-grated. I highly recommend fresh. It really makes a difference, but it's okay if you have it pre-grated, and you know what? Nutmeg's optional anyway. But what I wanted to say about cheese before I got so rudely sidetracked was that this is a great use of not just scraps of different kinds of cheese. There goes my voice. But it's also really good for if you have hard ends of cheese. You know, someone left the bag open or the plastic wrapper or something, like the teenagers. And, you know, and the end gets hard and you don't want to feed it to the dog because the dog shouldn't be eating cheese anyway. Yeah, that cheese, perfect. Okay, so I'm just stirring this around so that the cheese gets melted in there, and it's mostly melted. I see a couple of little pieces, but very, very little. Rob and I were saying that this time it's hard to tell. You can make this thicker if you want it by adding more flour, and I will put...
Or boiling a small potato in there, isn't it?
Yes, you could do that if you don't want to add flour, but I will put amounts of flour down below with a range for you. Yes, you could boil a potato and add it peeled and blitz it in, and that will also help thicken. It sort of depends what you prefer. If you add too much flour, however, you're going to get this kind of wallpaper pasty thing, this texture that's not entirely pleasant. So don't overdo the flour. So now we're going to make a lot of noise here by blitzing. I think this will reach. Yes, it will. Now you can, if you don't have a stick blender, you can very carefully pour the whole thing into your regular, well, not the whole thing, probably won't fit, half of it into a regular blender, and be very careful not to burn yourself. But this is really where the stick blender shines. So all I'm doing is really attacking the broccoli chunks and getting rid of those. Now, we often have this as the veg in a meal, or one of the veggies in a meal, with something else. It makes a great lunch. Dinner, you'll want something else probably with it. I think tonight we're doing a composed salad that has some hard-boiled eggs and either tuna or bacon or something like that in it. You can finish it with a squeeze of lemon juice if you like, or a drizzle of olive oil, a little bit of cream, some parsley. Any of those things would be a nice way to finish it. And it's also just good exactly how it is. So I hope you enjoyed that. And hey, let me ask you one thing, because I keep forgetting to do this because I'm not good at this YouTube thing. If you're enjoying watching these, could you please, number one, hit like below, and number two, leave a comment. Say something on any of the videos, because it turns out it's those comments and those likes that push me up to be able to search and find my videos. You may have discovered that if you are not subscribed, it's actually really hard to find my videos because they're buried amongst all the other food videos out there. So please comment and please subscribe and please like the videos. Thank you.